candidate for Labour and Employment and one of the spokespersons of the All Progressive Congress Presidential Campaign Council, APC-PCC, Mr Festus Keyamo, has called for the arrest of the presidential candidate of the Labour Party LP and his running mate, Dr. Datti Baba-Ahmed, for allegedly making incendiary comments and claims capable of causing an insurrection against the government. But the LP Presidential Campaign Council dismissed the allegations against the party's candidates. They accused Keyamo of selfishness, saying he felt content to look at the other way when his party, All Progressive Congress, and its supporters moved against non-Yoruba nationalities in Lagos State with hateful speeches and acts during the last elections. The civil rights advocacy group, Human Rights Association of Nigeria, Huriwa, also slammed Keyamo for saying the Presidential Election Petition Tribunal will clear Tinubu of all allegations brought against him by Obi and Atiku, insisting that it amounts to preempting the panel. All right, a lot to talk about, Ayo.
Yes, we did expect that the drama had only just begun post the announcement of the winner of the presidential election on 25th of February, and we have seen a number of things begin to unfold as the days go by. One of this, again, is in the interview granted, or first of all, starting with the petition written by the Minister of State for Labour and Productivity, Mr Festus Keyamo, SAN, and of course his following interview, TV interview. Based on his petition is based, according to what he wrote to the DSS, on statements made by the vice presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Yusuf Datti Baba-Ahmed, and of course he also joined the presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Mr Peter Obi, in this complaint or petition to the DSS. I'd like to read the opening statement of the petition to the DSS made by Mr Festus Keyamo. First of all, I must say that he said he's written this petition in his personal capacity as an individual, as a concerned citizen of Nigeria. That's how he ended the petition. But he opens it by saying that I write with the full realization that in a post-election period such as this, there is a need to soothe frayed nerves, lower the temperature, and begin the healing process. Let me end here for a few seconds. Now, one of the things we've heard, especially from the APC at this time, is the healing process. This talk about healing, or let's now begin to work together and come together. Now, the reason I'm pointing this out is because it speaks to what the actions of Mr. Festus Keyamo. And what a number of people have said is that the APC asked the Labour Party and other aggrieved parties, the PDP inclusive, to go to court if they didn't agree with the election outcome. Now, this message of healing, hence him saying that the statements made by Yusuf Datti Ahmed is incendiary, therefore we should be looking towards unity. But people have asked as well that, can healing occur without justice? Is it mutually exclusive to heal and also to seek justice? I know that's not what he was talking about. He was talking about the statements exactly, but it was important because he started his statement that way. Because in his way, he was making a case for why he believes the DSS should investigate, as it could incite people, young and old in Nigeria, to violence, if possible. Now, I'll give a little example and then I'll pass it on, because I'm sure that Dr. and Rufai would also speak to this. But when we talk about justice and healing, I would give an example of a parent, two children. One has stolen a pot, the other's maybe possession, and then says, don't report to, just let's keep it quiet for the peace of this family, just let's move on. Yes, the peace of the family is very important, but it is also important that to enable or to teach the other person a lesson, it's important so that it doesn't occur again, that the other person is able to get some form of justice. Very important. In the same breath, Mr. Festus Keyamo, in the interview he did on another TV station, was doing almost exactly that which he was accusing Mr. Yusuf Datti Ahmed of doing, in terms of speaking out. Why is he saying that it was not the president-elect is not constitutionally recognized and so on? Because he also preempted the justice of the Supreme Court judges by making statements, not just at this interview, but in other forums, where he said that their case is baseless. The Supreme Court is going to throw the case away. So just to mention that at this time, it is important that spokespeople like Mr. Festus Keyamo and the spokespersons from the Labour Party are careful with the words that they say. Yes, it is important to seek justice, but we must remember that it's the people that they seek to serve that they could, ultimately do a disservice to.
A number of things. Number one, all politicians, all stakeholders, all parties to the general election in Nigeria should realize that the elections are over. Matters have been taken to court. Nobody should instigate violence. Nobody should try to do anything that will sound or look like incitement, because that is not the way to go. And the various parties, the major parties, 4 political parties, and the APC, haven't gone to court on different sides of the spectrum with regard to those elections. They should know already that the petitions haven't been filed. The matter is already sub judice. And so they must refrain from making statements that will be prejudicial to the outcome of the process in court. That's very important. The second thing is the petition by Festus Keyamo. It's titled Petition Against Mr. Obi and Datti Baba-Ahmed for making incendiary comments and claims capable of causing an insurrection or rebellion against the government of Nigeria and the duly elected president-elect. Thursday, March 23, 2023. And of course, this is the received, a copy of the received petition. Well, the point to note here is that Festus Keyamo is insisting that he has had to write this petition because of statements made by Mr. Peter Obi and Baba-Ahmed. What we know is that Mr. Peter Obi, sometime last week, made it clear that he will not subscribe to an end INEC protest. He will not subscribe to an end democracy protest. He made those 2 points clear. And that the option that is available to him is to go to court, which he has done, because he has faith in the judiciary. So, to that extent, Mr. Peter Obi has made very clear his choice in the matter. And on this program, he made a distinction between Labour Party and the Obedient Movement, which he says is larger than Labour Party. And sometimes there may be elements in the Obedient Movement saying certain things that may not really be the position of the party. As for the vice presidential candidate of the Labour Party, well, Keyamo is saying he appeared on television. And he said if Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu is sworn in on May 29 as president of Nigeria, that may signal an end to democracy. I think that's what Festus Keyamo is holding on to. Why would Tinubu being sworn in signal an end to democracy? He also took objection to Baba-Ahmed raising the question about Section 134(2) of the Constitution, which deals with, FCT Abuja, whether or not for a person to be president of Nigeria must win 25% in Abuja. Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu got 18.8% from the Federal Capital Territory. But that's one of the major matters before the court, and it is for the court to determine that. So this is why it is important that all parties concerned should just calm down and allow the judicial process to take its course. However, Keyamo has received a response in equal measure from the Labour Party Presidential Campaign Council and also from Dr. Yusuf Tanko and other spokespersons of the party, including Dino Onifade. And what they have told him clearly is that he's joking and that nobody should take his joke seriously. And that, Keyamo is a known rabble-rouser who is just trying to impress his masters. Well, the election is over, gentlemen. Can we tone down the rhetoric? And in any case, the DSS is not going to just act on the basis of a petition from a partisan party. This is not the first time Keyamo will write a petition. Nothing came out of the last petition that he wrote to the DSS, because the DSS as an institution will not want to be seen to be taking directives or dictates from, a partisan political figure, trying to do his own job. And the election is over. We recall that Festus Keyamo is a Minister of State for Labor. That ministry, that assignment is still pending. Now that the election is over and his petition time is, tribunal time, can Minister Keyamo please pay more attention to his primary assignment? And all persons who may be tempted to incite the public against the Nigerian state should refrain from doing so. That is very important.
I think it's Lagbaja, the famous Afrobeat Nigerian musician. I think he had a song that says, Kulu, Kulu, Kulu Tempa, oh, Kulu Tempa. That's what I'll say to all the political parties. At first, there's something that binds all of us in common, which is our roots. We are all Nigerians in the first place. The reason why we are having these arguments back and forth is because we share something in common. We are all Nigerians, and that supersedes anything and any other thing where we are from in the country. It's immaterial to the fact that we're all Nigerians. We'll have varying ideas, but we'll talk about our varied ideas with objectivity and the truth. It's as simple as that. So we want everybody to cool things down, because after all is said and done, after the case goes to court and the court makes a ruling, we'll still have to come together in this country. But that will be after justice has been done as regards the electoral process, which will be done in the courts. Mr. Keyamo that wrote a petition to DSS, I laugh a lot, because Mr. Keyamo pretty much went out there to school the television presenter, and I think it's not fair the way politicians treat journalists. You talk down at them, it's not fair. You pretty much were there schooling the presenter, and the next thing you went ahead to do all the things you complained against. Mr. Keyamo is his son, senior advocate of Nigeria, but on this section 25 of Dr. Abati, do you know, despite the fact that case is in court, he gave an illegal opinion on section 25 right there on TV on a case that is already in court. He gave a legal opinion on, no, not section 25, this 25% in Abuja thing.
Section 134.
He gave a legal opinion. They are empirical facts. Fact check me. When he was asked on the issue, he gave a legal opinion knowing fully well that the case is sub judice, like lawyers say, and it's already in court. And as a senior advocate of Nigeria, gave a legal opinion of a case that is in court on television. So who is going to charge him for that? Who's going to charge him for that? Then he says about the things that Baba-Ahmed did say. You know, the truth has to be said. Any decision that is taken by the court, democracy will not fade off in Nigeria. We will go through our path and will become better. But what we call on the judiciary to do is to ensure justice reigns. That's just all. And one too many times, those that are going to court are saying they want to challenge the process. And they have extensive things there in their petition to challenge. But in also being objective, and please, for the love of mercy, in also being objective, let us also balance things out. Apart from what I have pointed out, what Datti Baba-Ahmed has said, and say it will not be a reign at the end of democracy in Nigeria, even if the court rules in favor of anybody. But in also being objective, Mr. Festus Keyamo forgets the tweets of his very good friend and brother Bayon Onuga and Mr. FFK that are causing ethnic tension and ethnic baiting in the country. He also forgot to see MC Oluomo's message that it was a prediction and a threat that came to pass in Lagos. So that's where the hypocrisy is when we are talking about things on the national sphere. I know politicians will say the things they want to say, they want to make arguments and everything, but we need to cool it down, and we also need to be just as statesmen. Because at the end of it, after all is said and done, we will have a country to build and we'll come together. The former Deputy Senate President, Ike Ekweremadu, and his wife, Beatrice, have both been convicted of organ trafficking in the United Kingdom. Ekweremadu, a former Nigerian Deputy Senate President, with his wife alongside their doctor, Obin Albetta, were found guilty of violating the Modern Slavery Act. The trio were found guilty after a 6-week trial of facilitating the travel of a young man to Britain with a viewpoint to exploiting him. The Metropolitan Police had in June 2022 remanded him in custody and arraigned Beatrice and Ike Ekweremadu at Oxbridge Magistrate Court. Meanwhile, the judge, Justice Jeremy Johnson, will pass a sentence at a later date. So, I mean, a lot to say about this.
Yes, for those who have followed this case, this is they found him guilty, not just him, his wife Beatrice, their doctor, as you've mentioned, Rufai, and they actually acquitted his daughter Sonia for saying she wasn't complicit. I think the lessons from this particular conviction and following the case closely is to see that very largely for us, for a number of people, there's a lack of understanding of what amounts to modern-day slavery. This Modern-Day Slavery Act was enacted in 2015. and became a deterrent so that, the perpetrators of modern slavery could be caught, especially in the area of trafficking, whether it's human trafficking or organ trafficking, as is the case in this particular matter. Now, what this means for them is that there are a number of sentences that the court, bearing in mind the merit of the case, would put down come May 5, when he would be sentencing the trio for being found guilty in this case. One of the things I must mention following the case is that number one was this issue around paying someone to do something, especially in this case, the donation of an organ. Despite the fact that the lawyers of both Senator Ekweremadu, his wife, and the doctors have tried to say that, the man was aware of it, but it is the fact that what is seen as normal practice, or just asking someone to do something and pay for it, is not. And so in terms of that area, which unfortunately a number of Nigerians are complicit and do not recognize that it's actually a crime. So the case has played out, they've been found guilty, and will await sentencing on the 5th of May.
The Modern Slavery Act of the UK 2015 deals with this category of offenses with, slavery. Talks about slavery, servitude. Second, in Section 2, it talks about illegal trafficking. Section 3, it talks about exploitation. Section 4, it talks about the intent to commit the offense spelled out above. Now, it goes on in Section 5. The Modern Slavery Act in Section 5 now prescribes the penalties. What are these penalties? If you fall short of Sections 1 and 2 of that Modern Slavery Act, you could be sentenced to life imprisonment. If it is, under summary conviction means the matter not going straight to trial. It means the accused person pleads guilty, enters an allocutus, and then the court, gives its ruling. That's summary conviction. Under that is 12 months or a fine or both. Now, if it is under Section 4, the punishment is, again, similar to what you have, articulated in Section 5, and that's spelled out in Section 6. So where are we in this matter now? The matter is that Ekweremadu, former Senator Ike Ekweremadu, his wife, and the doctor involved in the matter, have all been convicted. Now the sentencing has been moved to May 5. So how would the court treat the matter of sentencing? Two ways. Perhaps if the lawyers had gone for summary conviction, the maximum that would have happened would have been 12 months or a fine or both. Ekweremadu and his wife having already spent about 10 months in prison. But what is now going to happen depends on how, the court applies the rules. And this being a landmark case, the first time anybody will be convicted under this Modern Slavery Act, the court, the Old Bailey, may just want to make a statement to people to say that, look, this law exists and is potent and is no respecter of persons. But let us hope that, the matter will be determined on compassionate grounds. Because if you look at this, the senator and his wife, they were not doing this for profit. They were doing it out of love for their child who was sick. So maybe compassion would come in here. But as for the Dr. Ubeta, it may well be established that he was doing it for monetary gains. The court had said, and the Crown prosecutor made the argument also, that the fact that this is done out of love for a child is no defense. They say it's criminal. They say it's exploitative. They say this is a major test for the Modern Slavery Act. But we will wait, we'll see on May 5. But there are lessons to be drawn from all of this about love for a child, about what happens in other jurisdictions that may not apply in our country. But I feel very strongly about the compassionate side of it. But we're not in a position, of course, to prejudge the court. But that's what the law says. On May 5, we'll see how the matter is determined.
Right, it's quite a tough one because laws are laws. And like I feel for the girl, Sonia, because she still needs a kidney, and we've not heard much about as regards her getting a kidney. which is also a very dire medical condition, because even if you get a kidney, it's not a hard and fast rule that because your body at some point will even reject the kidney, then you start to take drugs to suppress, the rejection. And that goes for a while. And sometimes, there's so many precautions. So it's not a good place to be. And I've seen a lot of people, that are quite dear that have had to go through all of this. So I feel for her. But also there are the laws of the land. And a lot of people also make the argument for the boy, the fact that, hey, he was brought into this and the way he was treated and all of that, But some people have also made counter arguments that he got to the UK, that he wanted to seek asylum. That's why he did this. But the court has proved otherwise, and the court has found them guilty in all of this. I think the lessons we should take from this is, number one, what applies here might not apply in other jurisdictions, so let's be careful. Secondly, yes, there's a passion, there's a love for our child to save our dying family member, but the truth has to be told that how we do it and the processes we do it, we should also check the legal implication